365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so type the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Yo, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We got the one and only Freddie Henderson and Mr. Chris Brown. What's going on, Chris?
Man, what's going on, Freddie? What's going on, everybody? Madison, I see you in the comments. I'm letting you know right now I will be attacking your Pittsburgh Steelers, but just wait. I'll be coming a little bit later. But how's everybody doing, man? I'm glad to talk sports. Football, basketball was a crazy wild card weekend. We're going to break it down today.
All right. As you guys can see, Coach Cam's not with us today. We'll have Will join in pretty soon. But before that, we have a special interview before we start real talk today. We have Mr. Luke Warsham back on once again to break down what happened on yesterday's loss with the Tennessee Titans. Let's bring them on. Let's bring them on out. And yo, what's going on, Luke? How's it going?
Hey guys, how are you guys doing tonight?
Man, we're good. Mm-hmm. Man, like what happened yesterday, Luke? I mean, we knew Derrick Henry, the 2,000 plus rushing yards that he had this year, and I mean, I'm pretty sure if you ask him that, he knows that he did not have the best game of all. But what happened?
It's a good question, and I think the answer is simply they got outplayed. I think Baltimore is just a better team than they are. And, a big debate that has gone on today on the radio, on Twitter, was this a successful season for the Titans? You look back at the regular season, you mentioned Derrick Henry getting 2,000 yards. They won 11 games, the division for the first time in 12 years. And when you look at those things, you say, well, okay, maybe it was a successful season. There were certainly, I don't think it's deniable that they accomplished things within the season. But you look at yesterday's game and you say, they turned in a dud when it really mattered. You're in the playoffs and they just turned in a complete dud. And like I said, I think they just got outplayed by Baltimore. I think there's a lot of finger pointing at Vrabel and at Tannehill and Henry and some other guys. And look, I think some of that is fair, and I think that some of the long-term problems with this team are Vrabel's fault. But I think at the end of the day, they just got outplayed by a better team, and I think how they got there is surprising. The fact that it was the defense that played well and the offense that really let them down, because during the regular season, it was always the opposite of that was happening. But I personally don't think it's terribly surprising that these Titans were a one-and-done team. They could at no point in the season have any sort of synergy where, both sides of the ball were working together. It's always, even in the big wins, it was typically, one side was pulling all the weight and the other side was just sort of along for the ride. And that's not a winning formula, and it's certainly a waste because they had such a good offense. But at the end of the day, that offense stunk yesterday. That offense only put up 13 points against the Ravens. So just really a failure all around by the Titans yesterday, and I think they just got beaten by a better team.
All right, Chris.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I remember last time we had you on here, we talked about how the offense, was starting out clicking on all the cylinders, and that defense was kind of inconsistent throughout the year. So as I'm watching it, I'm seeing that defense just get after Lamar Jackson. They had 5 sacks, which was crazy, even without Jadeveon Clowney. And the offense, to me, just never got the right rhythm when it mattered. Yeah. And I had them winning. I had the Titans winning because even I said, in my eyes, I love y'all weapons. Everybody wants to talk about the running game. I love Brown. I love Davis. And I love John Smith and everybody. But for me, I just don't know what happened. It just never got clicking for the big plays on the offense. And I think at the end, that's where it hurt the Titans.
And I think what's disappointing about that is all year long, the narrative, at least one of the ones I was driving, was the offense is so good that you can't just sell out to stop Derrick Henry because then you're going to get beaten by A.J. Brown and Ryan Tannehill. And in the first bit of that game yesterday, that was true. They were selling out to stop Henry, but we saw A.J. Brown abusing Marlon Humphreys at cornerback, or Humphrey, excuse me, and Tannehill taking advantage of that matchup. And then really starting about halfway through the second quarter, it just ended. The whole thing was over. And I think what's disappointing is you look back and you say, Baltimore had a great game plan to stop Derrick Henry. And obviously it's hard to get better than a combo of Brandon Williams and Calais Campbell up the middle in order to do that. But what's disappointing is that the Titans weren't able to then say, okay, you want to stop Derrick Henry? Well, we're just going to beat you with the passing game. And I think part of the problem is that with that was the lack of receiver depth. I've had a lot of fans sort of come to me and say, well, what do you expect them to do when Corey Davis is out and Adam Humphries is out? Well, I expect the fourth receiver to be better than Khalif Raymond or Nick Westbrook-Akeen or Cameron Batson, all of whom played major roles in yesterday's game. And that's really a John Robinson problem, the general manager. So, it's a failure. It was a failure by the Titans yesterday, and it's disappointing that they weren't able to launch any sort of secondary attack. And I don't think that's indicative of who they are. I think throughout the season there were times where they had that secondary attack. But it's disappointing to look at Sunday's game and say that, what happened was Baltimore stopped Derrick Henry, and the Titans just had nothing else to throw at them. And the stuff they did try to throw at them wasn't working.
All right. I know we talk about the negative, what happened on yesterday. Yesterday the Ravens, they danced on their logo. They beat them. Do you think in any kind of way that sparked some kind of fire in the Titans player? Were they ready to come back next year, or what is the guy's mindset after what happened on yesterday going into the offseason?
Well, to start by talking about the dancing on the logo thing, Dennis Kelly made the right tackle made a point after the game yesterday that the Titans have been doing that, where they don't even dance. This isn't like a Juju Smith-Schuster sort of thing where it's a TikTok film. And I've watched them do it every game, home and away, since about 2016. Now that was before my time, but I've watched them do it since I got here. They go to the midfield logo again. They do this home and away. And all they do is they have like a team conversation, like a team breakdown before the game. They don't dance. There's not. I don't even think there was any kind of statement they're trying to make about that. I think it's just what they do. And for whatever reason, when these two teams played in the regular season, Baltimore took exception to that. And I thought it was kind of entertaining and funny that they, when Peters got the interception at the end, they went to the Titans logo and did that. I thought that was funny, but. In terms of, the motivation going in the offseason, I think Kevin Byard said it best today. He said, this isn't a rebuild. There are a lot of Titans fans that are wanting to make this out to be some sort of catastrophic situation where, this guy needs to be fired and that guy needs to be fired and this guy needs to be cut. And it's like, they came up short. They were not good enough. If they just run back everything, they will not be good enough next year. But let's not act like this is a team that is like hopelessly lost. They've got a franchise quarterback. They've got a 2,000-yard rusher, a very talented offensive line, good weapons on offense. And on defense, there are certainly pieces you can look at and say, okay, with more around them, this guy's going to be better, such as a Jeffrey Simmons, potentially Kevin Byard. You would look to have a rebound season next year. So I think the motivation going into next season, and what Byard said, is this isn't a rebuild. This is just they've got to add some firepower to, I think, both sides of the ball. Defense, obviously, more than offense. And a lot of it is just going to be running it back. There's not going to be any wholesale changes, I don't think, the Titans, but there are going to have to be some changes because clearly, as evidenced by Sunday's game, this current version of the team is not a Super Bowl contender by any stretch of the imagination.
So going into the offseason, what positions in your mind do you think the Titans should really key in and upgrade in or adding more depth?
I think they need more depth at receiver. I said that all last season, and that finally came back to bite them yesterday. Like I said earlier, I've had a lot of fans be like, but the receivers are so good. I'm like, yeah, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, Adam Humphries, those three are good. But you can't go from that three to practice squad type of players. You have to have, whether it's a veteran or a young guy, you have to have something in case of injury, where you can have someone that is at least somewhat reliable and not, I feel like if they cut Raymond Batson or Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, they would clear waivers and no other team would want them. And you can't have that type of player filling out your receiver depth chart behind your starters. So offensively, I think that's it. I think that's the big need, is some more depth at receiver. I think Darrington Evans, the rookie running back that they had this year, is going to play a bigger role and give them some more explosiveness that they need next year. On defense, I think a better question is what isn't the need? I mean, obviously, your safeties are going to be Bayer, Hooker, and Vaccaro. Your corners are going to be some combination of, probably Adoree Jackson, Malcolm Butler. Maybe you keep Desmond King, who played well in stretches this year after they traded for him. But they're going to need a lot of juice on the defensive front, because that was a disaster for them this year, particularly edge, pass rusher, and inside linebacker. Rashad Evans, unfortunately for them, took a huge step back in 2020. He did not play very well at all. And then they just got no production out of their pass rushers. Now, you're probably going to see Daquan Jones back in all likelihood. You're definitely going to see Jeffrey Simmons back. But they just need some more juice at pass rusher. And I think when it comes to the draft and free agency, I think that's one of those positions where if you're the Titans, you double or even triple dip. I think you spend a first-round pick on an edge pass rusher. I think you get at least one veteran edge pass rusher in free agency, probably someone like a Ryan Kerrigan, a Bud Dupree, Shaq Barrett, guys like that that are going to be free agents. That's probably need number one for them, is people who can get after the quarterback and finally give them replacement for Derek Morgan and Brian Arakpo, who they lost some years back, who used to do that for them. And since those guys left, they've just not had any sort of replacement for that production.
Luke, I mean, you already know in the MVP talks, you have Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, but you also have Derrick Henry in the running.
Yeah.
To you, as a reporter, you watch him every week in, week out. You see what he do in the field for practice. You see the mindset. Why should Derrick Henry be the MVP?
I don't know that he should necessarily. I'm struggling with this, to be honest, because I don't vote for the Associated Press MVP, but I do get a vote in the Pro Football Writers MVP, and I have to cast that vote, I think, by Wednesday. And I've been really struggling. And I'm going to be honest, I'm very much leaning Aaron Rodgers for that vote. But, I love Derrick Henry, and I think Derrick Henry had a sensational season, obviously one of the best we've ever seen for a running back. But when I look at MVP, the question I ask myself, first of all, would this team be the same? Would they still be a competitive team without that player? And while the Titans would obviously lose a lot of firepower without Derrick Henry, I don't think they would just totally fall apart if they didn't have him. I don't think the same can be said about the Packers. And going back to the last running back to win MVP, Adrian Peterson, after that 2012 season, I don't think the same could be said about that. I think you could take Adrian Peterson off of that, Christian Ponder-led 2012 Vikings team. I think they fall apart. I just don't see that with Derrick Henry. And is that an unfair standard? I think there's an argument that it is. But in terms of who was the most valuable player for the 16 games in the regular season, Aaron Rodgers had one of the best seasons we've seen from a quarterback in some time. He was absolutely sensational all year long, nearly flawless. And Derrick Henry, though he put up really big numbers at the end of the year, was not always consistent. You have to look back at the first month of the season where, though he was having good rushing yardage numbers, the yards per carry average wasn't really there, and he wasn't making explosive plays. So for me right now, I think absence of consistency and meaningfulness to the team are keeping Henry back in my mind. but I would still put Henry ahead of Josh Allen. My vote, if I were to vote right now, would be Aaron Rodgers 1 and then Henry 2, followed by some combination of Mahomes and Josh Allen.
So for that Offensive Player of the Year award, do you believe that should go to Derrick Henry?
Yes, 100%.
I do too. There's no way. 2,000 yards. He had a incredible year. MVP, that's one thing. But for Offensive Player of the Year, I think that should be a no-brainer.
And he just makes it look so easy. I made a comment on our podcast last week that you kind of get lulled when you watch Derrick Henry for 16 games. You kind of start to think like, oh, this is just normal. Like, it's just normal for a running back to have 220 yards, multiple times in one season. Obviously, that's totally not normal and absolutely incredible. But that's what's so cool about Derrick Henry is he just makes it look so easy and makes it look normal, the things that he does.
All right, my last question, and really just like a statement off my last question.
Mm-hmm.
You just said, you take you take Derrick Henry, off that team would still stay the same. So are you saying that you believe that Ryan Tannehill can still make plays, still carry this team in the playoffs to make a deep playoff run?
Well, I want to clarify. I'm not saying that the
and with the defense
would stay the same without Henry. I think it would be obviously a hugely significant loss. I don't think they would fall apart without Derrick Henry. I think they would still be a competitive, winning football team without Derrick Henry. And yes, a lot of that does come down to the fact that Ryan Tannehill, for several parts of the season, was himself in the MVP conversation. He threw over 40 touchdowns and had just 6 or 7 turnovers. He had a remarkable season for the Titans. And is a lot of that due to Henry's success? Yeah, but I think you could say a lot of Henry's success is due to the fact that Tannehill is such a threat in the passing game. And I think Tannehill's a really good quarterback. I like watching him play. I think he makes good decisions. He throws a good ball.
Yes.
And I think he is criminally underrated around the NFL. So, yeah, I think a lot of me saying what I did about Derrick Henry does come down to the fact that Ryan Tannehill, in my mind, is a very, very good NFL quarterback.
I believe so too. I remember him with Miami. He's putting up like good numbers, and people tell me all the time, is Ryan Tannehill going to be able to do this without Derrick Henry? I said we've seen him do it before. They're both making the game easy for each other. That's what watching this game, I was waiting for Ryan Tannehill to really throw more. Midway through the third quarter, I thought they were just going to let him, rip it. But I understand now with the wide receiver injuries, with the game plan, I'm just ready for next year for the Titans, honestly, because I still have big hopes for them. Somebody, asked me today what teams that lost the first round should blow it up. And they brought up the Titans. I said, no, the Titans are still right there, still fighting for that division. They won it this year, easily win it next, and just rebuild and retool.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100% there.
All right. Chris, do you have any more questions?
Oh, that's it.
Man, Luger, hey, like I said, we are really here at the ASAP Network. We really appreciate you coming on, breaking down Titans football with us.
Absolutely.
Hey, you've for a new network, a new up and coming network, you gave our viewers something to be proud of. You gave us something to be proud of, and we just want to thank you for coming on, and Happy New Year's to you, by the way. And
absolutely, I appreciate the invitation.
Yes,
and hopefully we can get you beginning of next year, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Would be glad to do it. All right, you guys take care.
All right, thank you too.
All right. At this time, we'll let Will, our moderator, more than a moderator.
Don't forget that, man. Welcome back to ASAP Real Talk. Tell you what, well, it's good to be back. Good to be back in the seat. But let's start off like we normally do on ASAP Real Talk. We got to hit up the sponsors, Suzanne's Paparazzi. I don't know who's taking that place for Cam, but I know we got to hit that up. So anybody feel free to go tell us a little bit about Suzanne's Bling.
Suzanne's Paparazzi, jewelry, accessories, and more. Hey, I know Christmas and New Year's is past, but guess what's coming next month? Valentine's Day. If you have a special someone that you want to give them good quality jewelry for the Lolo, hit them up. You can call them at 541-294-5218. You can go to their website, and the promo code is 160920.
All right, Chris, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody listening at home how they can become our viewer of the month and what comes with that?
Yes, thank you everybody for watching and listening. We all appreciate it. To become viewer of the month, what I want you to do is like the video, share the video, like the page, share the page, comment on the lives, not just Real Talk, but every single show on the network. At the end of the month, we're going to tally everything up, and the viewer that does that the month is going to be crowned viewer of the month, and that viewer is going to get their very own ASAP Network t-shirt. Madison, I see you in the comments right now. I'm going to keep teasing you about your Steelers. I don't know how long you're going to be in the comments after you hear. I'll be honest. Wait till my hot take. You're going to love to hear what I got to say about the Steelers. But for everybody out there that's listening that might not be able to comment, might not be able to make every show, what I want you to do is you can buy the T-shirts. Message us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Those beautiful ASAP Network T-shirts you saw are $14.95 plus shipping and handling. Like I said, message us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Or if you know somebody that's on the show personally, message them, and they'll get back to us. We're going to get you those very beautiful ASAP Network T-shirts ASAP.
All right. And then Freddie, are we hitting up Anchor? We talking about them? We have any other house cleaning that we need to take care of? Or
I know Chris normally do the Anchor.
Yes. So if when we're done live, you want to listen to us while you're in the gym or driving a car, you're just in the house chilling like me because I'm a podcast guy. You can follow us on all major audio platforms. Whatever platforms you listen to your podcast, you can listen to ASAP Network. The name is ASAP Network. Like I said, all the shows are going to be on there. After the show are live, the next day you'll be able to listen to them. You can catch Real Talk tomorrow. Listen to me and Freddie yelling at each other while you're in the gym. Good weightlifting. Good weightlifting sounds.
All right, Misty Meadows, why don't you go ahead and take us through it, Freddie?
Oregon Made, Misty Meadows, Jam and more. Check them out at 48053 Highway 101 South in Brandon, Oregon. Give them a call at 541-347-2575. And like Ace said, they have really good jam and really good stuff out there. So we might want to check them out while everything's there.
All right. Bills are paid, to my knowledge. I think we are ready to hop in, do some topics. Let's go ahead and start off, per usual, on ASAP Real Talk with the hot takes. NFL hot takes are going to be starting it off. Chris, you said that you already alluded to your hot take. Yes. While Madison's in the comments section, why don't you go ahead and drop it?
First of all, I'm about to compliment your Steelers. I really should take it back right now because of that comment. Okay, I'm not upset. I am a little upset, but we're not going to talk about that right now. Leave my Eagles alone, Madison. My hot take. After watching this weekend, after watching the Steelers all year, and here on ASAP Real Talk, most of us pointed out their flaws week 1, week 2, week 3, all the way up to the Browns smacking them in the mouth yesterday. Steelers, go ahead and trade for your quarterback. Don't matter who it is, whether it's Matthew Stafford. If you want Carson Wentz, give me a first or a second rounder. If you're trading for Deshaun Watson, if you're just trade for a competent quarterback that still have a lot of years left. Go ahead and get you another running back. Build yourself a running game. Go ahead and get you a two-headed horse. The Steelers get another competent running back, a new competent quarterback. They're going to win a Super Bowl next year. Yes, that defense. Listen, we saw yesterday. We're going to talk about the game. The quarterback play was really the reason why the Browns ended up winning that game. Yes, the Browns scored a lot of points, but, they had great field position. Why? Because of Big Ben mistakes. Because that team does not have a running game, so Big Ben had to throw all the times he had to throw. If I'm the Steelers, I'm looking at that and say, okay, you made a big move to get Minka. You saw his impact. Now you know how dominant that defense is. They led the league 4 times in a row in sacks. You need to work on the offense. You need to go ahead and get yourself a quarterback that can throw the ball, that can stay in the pocket, that can make plays. Go ahead and get yourself another running back because there's no team in the NFL that doesn't have a balanced offense. Except for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I feel like they're the only team that doesn't run the ball. When I break down the stats later, you're going to be mind blown that little Ben, his name's not Big Ben no more. After that performance, that little Ben threw that many times. He shouldn't be doing that. He should be done. So if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm trading for a quarterback, a competent one. Even if it's Stafford, Watson, Wentz, whoever, or if you're trading up in the draft, whoever, I'm getting another running back because James Conner, either they don't want to run the ball or they just don't believe in James Conner. Because what I've seen this year, he's not it. So go ahead, add yourself another running back, a power back, a sky back, no matter. You need a two-headed horse back there. And they're going to win the Super Bowl. I guarantee that defense is too good, but that offense is too questionable. There are a lot of injuries on that defense, and they still played relatively good yesterday. Go ahead, load up that defense, get some more depth, get a new quarterback, get a new running back, and I promise you the Pittsburgh Steelers will win the Super Bowl next year. You can book it.
All right. I tell you what, I'm glad I went with you first. We're starting off hot, that's for sure. Freddie, we'll turn it over to you. Need a hot take for the NFL.
Man, I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks. Year after year after year, we always say, give Russell Wilson an offensive line. Eventually, it's going to come back and bite them in the butt. And what happened? Yesterday, Saturday, it bit them in the butt when Aaron Donald and that line just destroyed them. I mean, Russell Wilson got sacked like 5 times on Saturday. 5 times. This dude cannot be Superman. They wanted this man to go out there and be Superman. He can't. What happens when you have an off game? He can't be Superman every single game. I mean, DK Metcalf. Hey, we know what he was doing with Jalen Ramsey, and he completely, other than that one touchdown.
That wasn't even on Jalen Ramsey. It wasn't even on Jalen.
Huh?
That touchdown wasn't even on Jalen Ramsey.
No, yeah, I know. I'm talking about other than that touchdown, DK Metcalf was really a no-show. Tyler Lockett only had like 2 receptions, was targeted 4 times. Seattle, if you do not give this man an offensive line, you are wasting could be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Like, this dude is just that elite. This dude is mobile. He has the arm. Get fixed offensive line this offseason. That should be the must. I don't want to see you adding nobody else. If they're not an offensive line, give this man some help. Fix it, because we believe that you can be better than the Rams. We believe you can be one of the best teams in NFC. Take care of your business.
All right. Tell you what, for my hot take, I'm going to go look. You guys both mentioned playoff teams. I'm going to mention one as well, but I'm only looking at one player. I'm going to Washington, and I'm looking at Taylor Heinicke.
Woo! Talk about him, Will.
Hot take. Taylor Heinicke played his way into a starting role week 1 next season. That man went 26 for 44, 300-plus yards, a touchdown and a pick in his first game in the postseason against one of the best defenses in the NFL in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He also had 40-plus yards on the run, averaging about 7 a carry, plus a rushing touchdown. Not only that, but that man dove from the 5-yard line for the pylon, out of bounds, risked his body.
Pat Mahomes tweeting about him.
I mean, the world blew up. The NFL blew up. Twitter blew up. Everybody was wondering who this guy is, saying, oh, he's an XFL quarterback. Man, he was in the NFL before that. He's been in the NFL before. This is his second stint here. I think that kid, that no matter what his stat line did, there's one thing that really came up with Taylor Heinicke, and that's heart. That kid showed a lot of heart. And I think that a coach is going to look at that and take a lot from it. Plus, it's a low contract. It's a very low contract. He didn't play enough games to blow you out of the water. He's not going to be earning upwards to 30, 40 million like some of these other quarterbacks. I really think a GM, maybe even a new GM who comes in, is going to take the low risk money and go try to spend his money somewhere else, see something that he likes in Taylor Heinicke, and I think we may see him lining up under center week 1 next season.
I like it. He almost won me some money. I'm not even mad at him. I'm not, because he had a good game.
He did.
He had a very good game.
He played his heart out, man.
Respect to him.
I tell you what, there was a lot of people sitting there saying, if Alex Smith is in this game, it's going to be close. And if Taylor Heinicke's in this game, if Heinicke's in this game, it's going to be a blowout. And that kid really held his own. Showed up. Man, he shocked the world. He really did. And I think he did just enough to earn himself a starting spot. So let's go ahead. Let's hop right into what game this weekend, over Wildcard Weekend, surprised y'all the most. I started with Chris on the hot take, so I'll go with Freddie. Freddie, which game really surprised you this weekend?
Let's stay with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Washington football game. Tampa Bay, you guys are supposed to go on a Super Bowl run. And like Will said, this kid went out, this quarterback went out there on Saturday and earned him a football position on down starting position next year. But you gave that up. That defense gave that up, and you expect to go against Drew Brees on this upcoming weekend, and possibly Aaron Rodgers the weekend after that.
They were missing some guys because of COVID.
No, I understand that, but that defense still should be able to there and handle their business against a team who did not know who their starting quarterback was on that upcoming week because of Alex Smith dealing with injuries, and he ended up not playing. But if you mean to tell me you going up against him and you going against the Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers possibly the week afterwards, and you gave up 300+ yards to him, that defense better tighten up. Tom Brady had a good game. can we give credit to that team for giving Fournette because he brought here like 93 rushing yards. He brought the rushing game on that front seven, and Antonio Brown. Hey man, this team is too loaded to get bounced out on this upcoming weekend to the New Orleans Saints. They better take care of their business, and if they gonna give up some yards like they did on this past Saturday, they might be in some world of trouble. They don't let Drew Brees get hot. That's all I gotta say.
All right, Chris, turn it over to you. What game really shocked you from Wild Card Weekend?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I hope I'm not going to step on your foot here about talking about this game. If I am, let me know now. Okay? You know where I'm going with this, Will. Your Bears and the Saints. I mean, it's a lot of games I wanted to talk about the Rams and Seahawks, but, I'm going to save that a little bit towards later. I want to really talk about this Bears and Saints game and how the Bears really could have won this game. That defense played out of their mind. They scored 21 points. Drew Brees 28 for 39, 265, 2 touchdowns. That's cool. They had 123 yards on the ground. That's cool. That defense was balling out. That defense played well enough, got necessary stops more than enough times for the Bears to capitalize. But why couldn't they capitalize? Let's look at it. For one, no running game, 19 carries for 48 yards, 0 running game. And for two, big play. When you got an offense that, is not that good, they don't necessarily make plays, they're not necessarily the scariest offense. Do it again, Will. Look, he said, when you do a trick play on a team like that, you got to capitalize. That momentum would change the game. And I believe if they got that touchdown, they probably could have went on to win the game.
Changes the game.
That changes. People don't understand how much that changes the game because they really weren't able to make a good drive on the entire game. They really weren't able to be consistent doing it. And at one time, you had it wide open. You make the catch before that, then drop this. I mean, that was the most disappointing thing. When I look at this game, I just look at the Bears and I say, okay, one side of the ball, even though they don't have the names that they kind of used to years back, they still got they got a lot of talent over there. Got a lot of guys that balled out. So if I'm them, you got to keep that. And it's obvious, just add on the offensive side. You need a running back. You need a run, and who knows if Allen Robinson's going to return. You lose him, you lose a lot. So, if I'm the Bears, you need offense, okay? You need a running back. You need wide receivers. You need everything because, okay, I clowned Mitchell Trubisky. I called him a bust, wanted to be. I did all those things. He looked bad, but he didn't look as bad as I thought he would be. He's making some throws. He was fighting. If you're going to spend that draft pick on Mitchell Trubisky, if you're going to say he's your guy and he's not as talented as these other guys that was in that draft class, put the best players around him for him to succeed. You see what's going on with Baker Mayfield right now. Is Baker Mayfield Deshaun Watson? No. Is Baker Mayfield Patrick Mahomes? No. But what does Baker Mayfield have? He has 2 running backs. He has wide receivers and tight ends. What does Deshaun Watson have? Even for him being that talented, he got some good wide receivers. Patrick Mahomes is loaded. Running backs, wide receivers, and the best tight end in football. And so you mean to tell me you're going to give a guy Mitchell Trubisky nothing to work with? Come on now. I know I clown the Bears and I clown them, but the Bears are an offensive way from dominating the NFC. Let me repeat this. The Bears are an offensive way from dominating the NFC. I mean, it's so hard when the defense is so dominant and the offense can't compete. Of course, the defense is going to end up giving more points because they're on the field longer. The other team has better position more of the time. Bears, the GM. I don't know if Matt Nagy's the problem. I don't know if you need a new OC. But the first thing you need to do is figure out how in the world you're going to add some offensive talent. Please do that. I'm tired of seeing this team. I want to bet on this team, but I can't because I don't trust their offense. The defense is so – if it was defense versus offense the whole game, I bet on the Bears every game. But right now, I mean, the Bears are really an offensive way from dominating, and that just stuck out to me because a lot of people say they didn't deserve to be in the playoffs, but they put up a hell of a fight against the Saints, a hell of a fight. And that game was just shocking. Just see how bad one side of the ball could be, but the game be so close because the defense is so good.
I've always said that the Bears can't make it work, and I mean this goes for any team in the NFL. You can't make it work with a 12-4 defense and a 4-12 offense. I mean, that's exactly what their records would be if it was just up to that. Their defense has enough to get them 12-4, like you said, contending for the division. Whenever we saw Mitch Trubisky have his best year, we saw the Bears take the division. And then ultimately, literally, Mitch even put them in the spot to win, and it came down to a field goal that hits off the upright, the crossbar. I know Chris knows a lot about that.
I was losing my mind.
As was I. in a different way, I can tell you that. But it's one of those to where the Bears, whenever Mitch is on and whenever they have decent offensive play, you can see that the Bears are a solid team. They have the ability to win. It's just it's upsetting seeing it kind of go to waste because this is a Super Bowl caliber defense, and especially if they have an offense on the field that can keep them off of it, so they can keep them well rested. And that's what you were seeing with the 0-6 run with Nick Foles. You know, whenever he was sitting there and he's not making any offensive plays, when we're not putting up 20 points in a game, your offense is on the field for 2/3 of the game, and there's no reason they're going to stop anything. And the fact that we're still holding teams to 20, that should let you know what this defense is. You know, we held the Saints to 23, and they had the ball for over 40 minutes in that game. That's nuts. You know, that should not happen. As an NFL team, that should not happen. But ultimately, to get to my game that really shocked me the most, and shout out Madison, I'm going with Cleveland, and I'm going versus Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. And it's not the fact that Pittsburgh played well. It's not the fact that it's not the fact that Cleveland played well. It's not the fact that Cleveland won. It's how they won. It was the sloppiest game ever. I mean, this game was gross to watch. The fact that we were sitting on here on recap, and this game was 28-0 before we got off. I mean, 28-0 in the first, and it's just so many mental mistakes. You know, I've said it multiple times on the network, and I've said it multiple times on my own show that Pittsburgh Steelers are frauds this year. We
all said it all year.
Everybody has all said that, 11-0, it's the most phony 11-0 team. It's really just so fake, but you just didn't know how bad it was until now. And yes, they're missing a couple defensive pieces. I got to give you that. You're missing Bud Dupree. You're missing Devin Bush, but still, this was just so bad. And it was on the offensive side. 4 interceptions, a bad snap literally to start the game. It was just gross. And the fact that Cleveland hasn't gotten a dub there in Pittsburgh in 17 years, and you're going to let it go in the playoffs, that's embarrassing. The fact that you try to hold off your home stadium out there, and man, Juju got to be kicking himself. I tell you what. And then the Browns are over there hitting the Corvette on the sideline. I mean, it was just good just to see. Honestly, it was kind of good just to see a little back talk to him. But
hey, be honest,
Steelers, man, what's up?
Be honest. Did you text Madison right after the game?
I'll tell you what. She was texting me right after the Bears game. I can tell you that. I kept my mouth shut. She was sitting there taking care of it herself.
Imagine this, and I hate this team with a passion. I burn the flag if I ever saw it. But imagine the Cowboys offense with the Chicago Bears defense.
I've been saying we need to go get Dak. I've been saying it.
Chris, that's a bad comparison because they will find a way to mess it up. I'm telling you, they will still find a way to mess it up.
Whatever you say. They never had a defense like the Bears.
I've always said I'll take the Bears. I'll take the Bears defense with Atlanta's offense.
That's nastier.
I'd take that any day. I'll take. I don't even need just give me Matt Ryan and
Julio and Ty Gurley.
I'll take David Montgomery at that point.
The tight end. You need the tight end. Oh no, you had Graham, but is Graham retired? That's a different story.
No, they're still good. They're still there. Okay. They're still hanging around. So we'll see. But while I was sitting there talking about the Steelers, let's stay on that game for a little bit. We need to talk about who's to blame for that game. There's a lot of answers, and they're all right. But let's see who y'all think is the most important answer whenever it comes to this. Chris, I'll start with you. Who's to blame for the Pittsburgh Steelers loss?
Madison. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. A lot of people been talking about, is Julio? I mean, what's his face, Mr. Dance guy, Mr. Bum.
Juju. Yeah.
No, I'm calling. No, I wasn't. No, that's his name, Mr. Dance guy, Mr. Bum. That's the name he earned. He deserved. A lot of people been saying, he's to blame. But I mean, at the end of the day, the Browns already had, that's where I was getting to. Who isn't to blame? The Browns already had a lot of built-up stuff they were playing for. They were playing for their coaches. They were playing for the guys that couldn't be there. They were playing for their franchise. So Juju saying the Browns is the Browns, I mean, the Browns were hearing that all season. The Browns were hearing that all year. So I don't think that Juju comment really, fueled anything up. If anything, they would just say, okay, now we got something to say at the end of the game. But for me, I blame whoever was calling the plays, and I blame Big Ben. And here's why. Why? First of all, Big Ben, 4 interceptions, that's terrible. That's terrible. And I know some of them were on. No, that's still your fault because you gotta throw the ball better because everybody knows you're throwing the ball in less than 3 seconds, so you know the defensive line are going to get their hand up. Big Ben, you got to be better with the ball. Whoever's calling the plays, I will say there were 0 sacks. Big Ben doesn't get sacked, but for Big Ben to throw 68 times, let that sink in. A guy that doesn't have near the arm talent he used to. Big Ben threw 68 times in a playoff game. That is unacceptable. And then you run the ball only 16 times. I mean, I've been saying all year how bad this running offense is. And James Conner, 11 carries for 37 yards is atrocious. It's atrocious. They don't even attempt to try how many points they were down. I knew it was times Big Ben, led them on drives, scoring less than 2 minutes. But Big Ben throwing 68 times is just disgusting. I hated watching it. He did set a record 501 passing yards. I think that's like top 3 all time for the playoffs, but they lost. He had to throw that much because he dug them into the hole. Big Ben and whoever's calling the plays. And I'm mad at Mike Tomlin for not going in on 4th and 1. We had all the momentum, and you had nothing to lose. That, to me, was a deciding factor. You had all the momentum. You go for the 4th and 1. Who knows? They might stop you. They might not stop you. But you don't even attempt to go for it. When the Browns, their running game is killing you all night. Baker Mayfield play action is killing you all night. You put the hands at Big Ben. I know I said he was throwing too much. But at the end of the day, you got to go for that. You go for that. That changes the whole game. Because watching the whole game, I'm saying they're down 28. But I'm like, are you down 20 in the first quarter? You got time to come back. Okay, you're down 20-some in the third quarter. You got time to come back. Okay, you're down 12 at one point. Not going for that 4th and 1. Lost them that game. The Steelers were by far the worst team playing. So who's to blame? Everybody's to blame. The GM, the coach, Ben Roethlisberger, James Conner, everybody's to blame. And the defense for not getting those sacks. I'm not going to let that pass either. I almost let it pass, but Baker Mayfield threw 34 times. And this Steelers team is supposed to be the best defensive line, the best defense in NFL, sacking people the most for the past 4 years. And all the horrible injuries that the Browns offensive line happened this entire game. They lost their right tackle. They're losing their guard. And the Steelers get no pressure. So who's to blame? The entire Pittsburgh Steelers.
Fair enough. Freddie, anything you want to add to that?
He's right. That was the team that's got a. He one thing Chris forgot to say that the head coach had COVID. I mean, we all said, man. Chris said it. The Browns don't have a coach.
I'm scared. I was scared. That's the reason why I said the Steelers probably going to win because not having a head coach. But boy, was I wrong.
He said that's like didn't they have the special team coach or the head coach? Geez, Louise. I mean. Mike, this is the first time I can say I've seen Mike Tomlin actually get out coached. Like I'm like sitting there like, what? Like 4th and 1, you don't go for it? Like, that could have been the spark that you needed. Like, but man, my biggest thing is Juju. I bet you're gonna be smart next time, aren't you? I bet you next time you're gonna stop doing a little TikTok on the logos. You're gonna do a lot of running your mouth. Because a lot of times you can poke the bear, and a lot of times the bear will roar back at you and it'll bite you. And that's what happened on Sunday, man. I mean, and Big Ben, we all can agree. If the Pittsburgh Steelers do not find their replacement this offseason, we can tell that they're not trying to win. Because Big Ben, I mean, they're going through the same thing the Giants did. They kept leaving Eli out there, kept bringing Eli out there, kept bringing him out there. Everybody knew Eli was done like the last 2 or 3 years. Everybody knew it. But they did not want to give up on the pass. They didn't want to give up on their past quarterback to go find them a new quarterback. That's what the Pittsburgh need. Yeah, you need to realize, hey, Big Ben, you're not here no more. You need to go. Like you need to step aside. Get you a young quarterback. I don't know if you can get one in the draft. I don't know if you can get you maybe make a trade for Carson Wentz. I don't know if you can get Deshaun Watson or Dak Prescott. You need to get somebody in there because you want to take advantage of this great defense.
Of course, you brought up your old favorite team, but that's not the point. I got a question for all y'all. Don't y'all think Antonio Brown made life so easy for Juju?
Yeah,
he made life so easy for Juju. And now Juju's only proving AB's point. Dude, you're an average receiver at best without him. When you have to be the number one, okay, everybody's going to look at the stats. Oh, he had a good game. He had all these yards. Man, the Browns were playing so lackadaisical in defense. I mean, they played too lackadaisical because they made it easier for the Steelers, to pick up big plays with that soft zone. but the game was over in the first quarter. It was over in the first quarter. Juju's he's not even a top 15 wide receiver.
Chris, give him the respect. Give him. So okay, you had 100 yards on yesterday, but the last 2 years you haven't even had a 100-yard reception game.
I mean, I'm not giving him no respect.
No.
I mean, I'll be tagging him in the post. See, they're not. I'll be tagging him in it. Hey, Juju, tell me, Corvette. Like, come on, dude. Like, you're. And I mean, is it his fault? No, but I mean, it just looks. It's not. I said this. It's not his fault because I guess they honestly thought that team was good. You know, because if you got Tyreek Hill doing that, I mean, you know what I'm saying. So it's just like that team was bad to begin with. It's not Juju's fault. He thought they were good, but we all knew they were trash.
Everybody was very aware that this was only a hoax, and I mean, I want to say I said it on Real Talk a while ago. I don't remember exactly how far
before
back.
You left.
I remember saying that Juju is not a number one. Juju cannot be out there and be the lead guy for your team. The man is a slot receiver. The guy is a number 2 at best. Like the guy he needs to know his role. The Rock would say, "Know your role and shut your mouth." Yes. And that's exactly what Juju should have done. Juju should know that he's not a number one. Juju needs that top complimentary guy. Don't come out here and be talking like you out here running the league. Yeah, you may be winning percentage, wins and losses. Sure, you guys were on top of the world. But the Kansas City Chiefs were one game behind you, and all of us knew it was a matter of time. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you're out there still talking after losing to Washington, then you get beat by the Bengals without Joe Burrow. Come on now. And then you finally decide to shut up. You come out and you finally play a decent game against the Colts, and then you lose to the Browns in back-to-back weeks. I mean, it's time to be quiet. And then they haven't even learned their lesson. Now Chase Claypool's out here in an interview saying, it's all right. The Browns are going to get mopped up next week anyway. They don't stand a chance. I'm like, when are you guys going to learn? Like, when are you guys going to learn? It's the dumbest thing I've seen. These kids are out here sitting there talking like they run the league, like they've been here before. And sure, the Steelers have been here before, but not these guys. Big Ben's been here before, but not those guys. They need to figure out where they're at, and they need to just reassess everything because all 11 men, all 22 men that stepped out on the field are to blame for this. The fact that 28-0 is the score at the end of one, facing a team that you have beat at your home stadium for 17 straight years, and they don't even have their head coach, and you're losing 28-0.
Or offensive coordinator.
Or OC.
Or number one corner.
And you down 28-0. Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. We all knew you were frauds. Thanks for confirming.
Yes, thank you.
But good Lord, you didn't have to do yourself like that. I mean, you could have at least played better. But let's go ahead. Let's move on. I know we got another team to talk about here. The Indianapolis Colts out here. Hey, I'm in Indiana, so let's talk about the team. The Colts, is it time to move on from Phillip Rivers? Signed a one-year deal coming into Indianapolis to take over the spot. Is it time that the Colts move on? Should they bring him back? What should be the quarterback? How should they address the QB room in Indy? I'll start with you, Freddie.
Man, when I look at all these quarterbacks that are available, not just via trade, via draft, for your free agent, I look at it and say, am I willing to bring back a 39-year-old quarterback, or would I look to go forward in the future and get somebody younger? The question is, when you have a defense like the Colts have, you need to take advantage of the opportunity. You don't want to. No offense, Will, like Chris said, if the Bears had an offense, they would be one of the best teams in the NFC. Okay, Coach, don't be in the same situation. Don't miss out on your future quarterback, and then wait till the defense die down. Because normally a good defense lasts 3 to 5 years. Normally 3 to 5 years. So you need to take advantage of it. If I was them, I'm calling Philadelphia. I think Carson Wentz is probably be the best fit there. If you get a Carson Wentz over there that can be your quarterback, that can help you be that star and fill that void, he'll be an upgrade from Phillip Rivers, in my opinion. He'll definitely be an upgrade because even though he had a good year, he threw for 4,000 yards, had 24 touchdowns, 11 assists, QBR rating of 97, completed like 68% of his passing this year. I still believe that Carson Wentz can be an upgrade to that team.
All right, I'll move over to Chris. Chris, is it time to move on from Phillip Rivers? What do you think the move should be?
First of all, Freddie said some things I don't even want to touch on. But yes, I mean, you tried to I'll touch on them. You tried to compare them to the Bears. The difference is they have a lot more weapons and they have a running game and offensive line. That's something that the Bears don't have. Mitchell Trubisky's out there by himself. Phillip Rivers has everything and didn't perform.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
You didn't compare them to the Bears?
I compared their defense. I said they both have good defenses, but do not be like the Bears that did not have the offense. And that's what I'm saying.
Their offense is fine. They have the running game. They put up 63 yards on the ground against the Bills.
But don't they need a quarterback though?
Yeah, they need. Okay, let's address it then. Do they need a quarterback? Yes, they need one badly. I mean, they could have won a game. They should have won a game. By the end of the day, because of missed throws by Phillip Rivers, everybody wants to talk about the play calling, the play calling. That 4th and 1 or that 4th and 2, I think, on the goal line. It was there. The receiver wide open. Phillip Rivers messed up the pass. It was wide open. That was easily a touchdown. Phillip Rivers messed it up. His timing was bad. You look at it when they needed that field goal, when the referees blessed them by getting another chance, because that was a fumble. So they blessed them by giving them another chance, and this dude kept throwing it out of bounds, throwing it out of bounds, throwing it out of bounds. Where's the experience? Where's the arm talent? It's not there no more. From the Colts, go all in there and go ahead and get you a Wentz. It doesn't even matter who. Go ahead and get you a Stafford. Trade up in the draft. At this point, bring in Jacob Brissett. Just get somebody other than Phillip Rivers, somebody that can manage the game and make the necessary throws that need to be made. Because this team, and I'm still upset that Andrew Luck retired, because they would have won. They would have been in the Super Bowl this year, last year, or any time with him, because he got one of the best offensive lines in the game and a running game. He retired at the wrong time, but I understand personal things. But yes, go get a quarterback, and they'll be the best team in the division if they get a quarterback. I picked them winning the division, and they didn't win it. They didn't perform well in the playoffs. Why? Because of the quarterback play.
There's a lot of quarterbacks, and here's how I address things. If you're in the bottom tier when it comes to the NFL, obviously the NFL being 32 teams, if you are 17 or lower in a position, if there are 17 teams or if there are 16 teams with this position being better than yours, you need to address it.
Yes.
Right now, they have a bottom tier quarterback whenever it comes down to it. If you're going to return Phillip Rivers at the age of 39 going into it, it's only going to get worse. This guy is not aging well. He is aging backwards like you should. He is actually aging. This isn't Tom Brady. This isn't Aaron Rodgers. They're not getting better with age. He is falling behind, and we are seeing it. He's not putting up the same numbers, and he does have nice offensive pieces. T.Y. Hilton's a great underrated receiver, always has been, always will be. They have an amazing running back core. Not to mention this whole season they've been missing Marlon Mack as well. Exactly. So the fact that they had Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines performing at their peaks, and then Marlon Mack will be right back next season if he's not shipped. They have the ability to ship him and still have a great tandem back there. Mm-hmm. Hines great in the catching and the receiving game. Jonathan Taylor great on the ground. One of the best offensive lines in football. One of the best defenses in football, not even just defensive lines. This team could be great. I mean, excellent. I mean, we saw them this year. They were the number 7 team at 11-5. This team isn't bad. They just need to get up there into the upper echelon of quarterbacks. And right now, if you give this team a Matt Stafford, you're going to be in a good position. If you give this team Deshaun Watson a little bit of a stretch because he's in the division, but if you give this team a Carson Wentz, they could be in a better position if the Frank Reich and Carson Wentz duo, starts lighting up again. Honestly, I take Jimmy G on this team. He's rumored to be available. Even a guy, it wouldn't put him in the top tier of quarterbacks. This isn't an upgrade per se. But even a younger guy like Mitch Trubisky, who could take time and learn and have those weapons around him, could perform well in this system. He'd have another great defense with him. He'd have better offensive pieces all the way around, a better running game, a better offensive line. This is a gold mine for a quarterback to land in. And so, of course, they should go get somebody else. They need to go take that step up. Obviously, something's wrong with the team. You're out here losing in the first round at 11-5 as a wild card team, sure, but you have the ability. While you have the core, you might as well try to look to upgrade. And I think it's obvious they need to go ahead and go address that. So let's move on to the game, and this will actually be our final topic, if I'm not mistaken. The game last night between the Tennessee Titans and the Baltimore Ravens, or not last night, but Saturday night, the Ravens able to take a 20-13 win. And for y'all, what do you think this means for Lamar Jackson? Just had his 24th birthday, very young guy, first playoff win. So congrats to him on that. But I'll start with you, Chris. What does this win mean for Lamar?
Oh my gosh, this means everything. Maybe not to him, but for all the critics, because everybody was, oh my gosh, Lamar can't win a playoff game. Lamar can't win a playoff game. There's a lot of, one guy personal achievement, but what can he do for the team? I think this means a lot, because if he loses this game, I don't think he's getting that payday. And I think he still has to do more to deserve that payday. But this does a lot. It does a lot for him and that franchise and the fans of the franchise, because you've seen this guy ball out last year. You see him this year be inconsistent. You're like, okay, if this dude loses 2 back-to-back years to the same team in the playoffs, is this the guy for the future? I think him winning this game kind of puts him in a better spot. And again, when I look at it, give him some weapons. Give him some weapons. You know what he's going to do on the ground. He's missing one of the best tackles in the game. So 5 sacks, I can kind of understand why. But, after I'm looking at that game, this week you're going against, the Bills, which we're going to talk about, later. Then we're going to talk about some more on Thursday. If they end up winning this game against the Bills, he's getting paid. 1 playoff game, okay, you're going to get some money. You win 2 the same year, you're getting paid. I think this means a lot for Lamar. This means a lot for Baltimore. I'm excited that he got this victory. Like I said, I know what he can do on the ground, but I'm still waiting for him to just unlock that next level passing. And I feel like that's not going to happen until they get some more weapons. Wide receivers, maybe another tight end, something that is unpredictable. Because this offense is too predictable. And that's why they, tend to fail when it means the most.
Freddie, I'll turn it over to you. What does this win for Lamar mean?
I absolutely agree. This means a lot for him, man. This takes the pressure off of him. Hey, he's facing a payday. Hey, just imagine this. He won this past weekend. I believe they can beat the Buffalo Bills team. I believe that defense finally got healthy and stepped up. I believe they beat the Bills and go up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Hey, guess what? Everything's off the line now. You got to go out there and power. You got to go out there and play. But I believe, them getting the win, it gives the team confidence and give him the confidence in his mind and say, hey, we know we can do it. We just did it, so let's keep doing it. One thing, like Chris said, I'm just waiting for Lamar to start, throwing that ball. And, you got to change the coach. The coaches got to change the plays, and you got to have the receivers that can run the route running for him to make it happen. We believe that he can do it, and it's going to close out a lot of people, saying, oh, he can't throw. He can't throw. All he can do is run. But once you get that arm, when he can start throwing that ball, man, you better watch out for this team. It can be dangerous. This team, and they can compete against the Kansas City Chiefs as well. So they better be careful, because Lamar Jackson, we've not seen a quarterback like him. Yes, you've seen RG3, but this dude right here.
Time out. We saw Michael Vick, dude. Don't compare.
Yeah, we see Michael Vick, but he's just this.
No, don't. He's not different from Michael Vick.
Lamar Jackson is just so smooth.
So was Michael Vick.
Yeah, he was, man.
He's the right-handed version of Michael Vick. Michael Vick, just like Lamar, was the fastest player whenever he was on the field. Michael Vick, like Lamar, could have run. It's different times. The offense is different. You put prime Michael Vick in today's NFL, you don't think he's putting up the same stats as Lamar, if not more? Come on, he might run for 2,000 yards. He had a better arm than Lamar.
Chris, I'm surprised you didn't mention this. You brought this up in the group chat yesterday. He had more rushing yards than
Derrick Henry. I said which one will have, and it ended up being Lamar. And that's what he brings to the table. Because okay, we can run the ball with the running backs. They're gonna lull you to sleep. Then boom, he can boot out and take off, or he can run off on a boot action, or he could just run off or be in the pocket and nothing's open. That's why I say when you surround him with weapons, you let him. Oh my God, if he's just able to pick you apart, he doesn't have to rely on the run game. Then the read options, everything's going to be even more smoother. That's why I scream for this team to get wide receivers. You always get what you don't have, so everything that's working for you becomes more easier.
I don't know if it's just the fact that I'm still just not a fan of the fact that Lamar hasn't done it through the air like I'd like him to. I understand he doesn't have the weapons, or at least not that many weapons. He has Hollywood Brown as a deep threat, sure, but other than that, I mean, we haven't seen him. He doesn't have much of an intermediate threat. He doesn't have that that short check down option. J.K. Dobbins has been an absolute savior for this team, in my opinion. This guy, that whenever they finally sat down Mark Ingram and they finally ran with J.K. Dobbins, who's arguably been the best running back out of that draft class, been absolutely phenomenal and took the Baltimore Ravens to a completely different level. And we know their defense can play. Their defense has been playing all season. Their defense has never been the issue. It's just the fact that they've just tried to kind of hold on to the pass with Mark Ingram. Don't even go for the two-headed running back attack whenever JK is sitting here averaging a yard and a half more a carry. I mean, you have the stats right there in front of you. You know, I'm taking an additional yard and a half every time. But whenever it comes down to it, I just the win's big for Lamar. The win is personally big for Lamar. I still don't believe in the Ravens over the Bills. I don't do it. I still don't. Whenever it comes down to it, the Titans have shown to be pedestrian if you can stop the run game. Now, the Ravens are great at stopping the run, and they're decent at stopping the pass, but they're better at stopping the run. This Bills team's not known for their run game. Now, Josh Allen may run at you and not slide and try to truck you if you're a middle linebacker. He doesn't care who you are. He's not going to slide. He's just going to try to bowl you over. But whenever it comes down to it, their running backs between Devin Singletary and Zach Moss are nothing to write home about. The big thing with this Buffalo Bills team is Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Cole Beasley. And that trio is disgusting right now. It's been one of the best trios in the NFL this season. It's why we've seen Josh Allen put up MVP-like numbers. It's why it's probably a part of the reason why we saw the Vikings go down so much. You know, whenever you don't have that key number one guy, sure, Thielen's been playing amazing as well. You got to give him his credit. But whenever you have Thielen and Diggs, you saw the Vikings succeed a lot more. Now you take one of those away, and you're seeing the Bills succeed a lot more because now Josh Allen has a weapon. You know, he was thrown to Isaiah McKenzie and a Kelvin Benjamin and a Sammy Watkins way past his prime. I mean, there's a reason why Josh Allen's stats have gone up over 1,000 yards every single season. You know, he's getting accustomed to the game, and now he finally has that guy. And this guy is helping him out so much. I think the Bills right now are just too much to handle. Honestly, they played the Colts really tough, but then again, every AFC team is really good. Yes. We're talking about every single team that made it is at least 11-5. I mean, this is the best group of teams to come out of a conference probably in history, from 1 to 7. You know, and this is the first time we've ever had the 7 spot, and we're still getting an 11-5 team at that spot. We're not getting the 7-9 Washington football team. We're not getting an 8-8 Bears team. You know, this is 11-5. This is teams that would have ran the table easily in other divisions in the NFC. You know, and the fact that they're only a wild card spot, the fact that a 10-6 Miami team didn't even make the playoffs, you know, it's nuts. The fact that they have a better record and they're going to have a worse draft pick because they didn't make the playoffs over the Bears, over the Washington football team, so on and so forth. This Bills team's really good. Baltimore's doing great. It means a lot for Lamar on a personal level. Congrats on getting your first playoff win. That's big. It's nice to finally have that under your belt, but I just don't know how I don't know how much you can prove by getting beat by the Bills right after this. And so it'll be interesting to see how he plays against Buffalo, especially in Buffalo. That's going to be the interesting part.
I have a question for you guys. So, you know, we talked about, you know, J.K. Dobbins and, you know, they have Gus Edwards as well. Mm-hmm. If you can trade Mark Ingram, are you getting rid of him?
100%.
Okay.
He's gone tomorrow. Yeah. The fact that he's not gone now is throwing me off. I'd have got rid of him a while ago. But
well, you beat me. I had my mic on mute. I was about to say, heck yeah.
Yeah, they're probably getting rid of him this offseason, especially with Gus Edwards popping up. I see him going because you don't need 3 running backs when you got Lamar.
No.
You know, just saying.
But I still think the big running back right now, out of all running backs on the market right now, is probably going to be Marlon Mack. Yes. I think that's going to be huge because I can't see them keeping all 3 of them. I know Marlon Mack's on a cheap contract. I don't know if this is his contract year or if next year is. But if he's going to be, I'm assuming he's going to be shopped because Jonathan Taylor has stepped in and has transformed.
1,000-yard runner, which I predicted.
Phenomenal. No, he transformed to the NFL just well. I mean, that's what happens when you're arguably one of the best college running backs in college football history. You know, he stepped in, made a pretty seamless transition. And so I think Marlon Mack will be shipped, but a team's going to be very happy with Marlon Mack. So we'll see what happens. But That's it for today on Real Talk, kind of keeping it short and sweet today. I know the national championship's going on, so go ahead and go check out that. But before we do, Chris, why don't you go ahead and hit them up about the shirts one more time?
Yes. I appreciate everybody that tuned in today. Later on, Will, tell them what you're going to be doing later on.
Later on, after the national championship, we are going to have myself, Sarge, and Nate the Great. We will be on Monday Night Sports Corner. We are going to bring you a little bit of a recap of the national championship. We're going to preview these games that are going on in the divisional round, and we're going to hit up some MLB trades. Some big MLB trades have happened over the llast few weeks. We're going to recap those, and we're going to talk a little bit about them, see what it means for those teams going forward.
Yes. So for everybody watching this, as soon as the national football game is over, I want you to go over there and watch that. But for everybody in the comments, for everybody that's tuning in right now, I just want to say thank you. In order to win a T-shirt, what I want you to do is comment, like the video, share the video, like the page, share the page. At the end of the month, we're going to tie everything up, and that person that does it the most is going to be Crown Viewer of the Month. Can't wait to see. Yes, I'm going to be tuned in as well. I might pop my head up, say hi, and bye, because that's how great I'm feeling today. But yeah, make sure you tune in to Real Talk on Thursday. Thursday, we're 2 hours long. We're bringing it to you. 2 hours long. We're bringing the heat. I might have to kick Freddie off the stream for saying things that don't make no sense. But yes, thank you everybody for watching, and make sure you tune in later for Sports Corner.
All right. So we're going to go ahead, close out on Real Talk. Any closing thoughts going into this?
Ohio State pull out the victory. I'm rooting for you. Got money on you. Need you.
Freddie, if you have final thoughts. Okay, good. Your mic is unmuted.
Just tune in tomorrow evening for Tim and Landon. They have their debate tomorrow, so can't wait to see that. And hey, let's roll.
Hey, the youth versus the elderly, but we'll see exactly. I know Landon's been hungry. He's been waiting, but we're going to see what's going on there. But don't forget, tune in to Sports Corner right after the national championship. We will be going live just a couple of minutes after the final. And so you can catch me, myself, Nate the Great, and Sarge on there. And we will recap the biggest things in sports going on right now, including that game. So until then, this has been Real Talk for Chris and Freddie. My name is Will Polson. We'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy.
Peace.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces.